Welcome to Job Talks Access. Today we're speaking with Rob Hampson. He works in a day program at Variety Village, which is a fantastic community center fully accessible here in the Toronto area. He's also a disability advocate and ambassador for the Rick Hansen Foundation. How are you this morning, Rob?
I'm great, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
Yes, I'm here in my office area. I've got a Carey Price hockey jersey behind me on the wall. Beside me is a shelf with some Blue Jays paraphernalia and a model airplane on the upper shelf. So we can get going, and thanks for joining us again.
Thank you so much, and I love the description of your office.
So just to start us off, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what you're doing for a living, or maybe even some of the jobs you've had in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So right now for a living, as I said, I'm working at Variety Village, the community center in Toronto, working in a day program with adults who have disabilities, providing them with different sports programming and other educational opportunities. With Variety Village, I've also had the opportunity to help work with TTC and Wheel-Trans drivers, talking to them about disability and how they can best include people and make sure that the services they're providing accommodate all people's needs. And then one of the other most exciting things I get to do is give speeches for the Rick Hansen Foundation as one of their ambassadors, talking about accessibility and inclusion to students, encouraging them to make sure that they help to make their schools and communities accessible while including all friends in their activities.
That's all amazing work, Rob. What would you say you enjoy most about it?
I love when I get to go to schools and talk to people. My view is always changing one person's mind at a time and making sure that they include everyone, especially talking with kids. I find they're fresh. They don't have any preconceived notions, and they want to learn. They accept me for who I am, and you can always change their minds.
Yeah, that's great. Working with people is a big draw. Would you say if you weren't working with people, you would maybe try to find something else, like working with people is the biggest factor for you?
Yeah, definitely. For me, working with people, I'm not such a fan of sitting at a computer all by myself, not talking to others.
Right.
The more I can be engaged with people, the happier I am.
Perfect. And these various jobs you had, do you find the opportunities led to one another, or did you have to do a lot of work? How did you end up where you are now?
Yeah, it's a good point. I'd say I kind of fell into it. So as a kid, when I was about 8, I started doing different ambassador opportunities with Variety Village, maybe going to a school, talking at an event, just sharing my story and what it's like to be blind. So eventually that led into being able to work with Variety Village. Some of those speeches I gave ended up reaching to the Rick Hansen Foundation, and they asked me to join as an ambassador. So it's kind of one thing led into another.
Yeah, that's great. And would you say there's a best job you've had? Which one would you say you enjoy the most, if there is one?
It's hard to say which one I love the most, but it would still be going back to being an advocate and public speaker, reaching as many people as I can and changing as many minds as I can.
For sure, for sure. And over the course of your career, how would you describe job satisfaction? Have you had any bad experiences or have you enjoyed it all?
Well, I've loved the work I've been able to do. The people I've worked with, the experiences I've had, and just even being employed, I'd say, is such an important opportunity.
That's great. And is there any barriers you feel like you've had to overcome, any challenges you've navigated through the process?
There definitely are some barriers. I'd say first barrier is people's attitudes. It's having to show them that I am capable of working with them, working in their center. Maybe it's supervising a group of students at Variety Village, knowing where people are, knowing what's happening around me, and just me having to prove to them that these are things I'm able to do. Then the other barrier for me would actually be a barrier that I faced in college, in high school, and even now still in life, is getting materials in a format I need. So maybe I have to fill out a document for work or read a file. If it's a piece of paper, I need that piece of paper either ahead of time so that I can have it put into a format that works for me, or I need it as a file. And that file also has to be one that my screen reader can use. Typically, one with just text is the easiest.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things there. I'm wondering, do you have any experiences with anything you really just blocked your path and you weren't able to figure out a way to overcome, or has there been things that have helped you, technology or people, anything that's helped you along the way that's made your career easier to navigate?
Good question. So I guess for technology, yeah, with the improvements we have, I can now use my phone to scan a document if I need to read it right away and then have it read to me. As for other barriers, well, I'd say when I'm working at Variety Village, yes, I have to keep track of where people are. And sure, if someone's quiet and they sneak off, I might not know that they've left. So in that case, it's, I guess, me having to figure out what I do. Maybe it's constantly asking people who's there, where they are, and making sure that everyone's always around so I can tell if someone leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just being able to have that awareness and maybe educating people as to what they need to do would be a step forward, do you say?
So true. Yeah, it's always, I'd say, about educating people and telling them how they can help me and how they can best let me know what's going on, and in order to keep track of things.
For sure. So, Rob, one last thing I want to ask you. In an ideal world, what do you think would be the biggest step forward as far as improving accessibility in the workplace?
Well, of course, it's going back to people's attitudes and perceptions, changing everyone's minds so they're welcoming and willing to have someone with a disability work in their setting. I'd say it's also having more people with disabilities working in settings so that, for one, people get used to it. Of course, giving those people employment opportunities is so important so that we can see the unemployment rate for people with disabilities drop.
For sure, I totally agree. The more comfortable we are and the more common it becomes to have people with disabilities working, then, obviously the less of an issue it'll be.
So true. And that's the end goal that we can all work together to make happen.
Thank you, Rob. And as I said to all my guests, with your help, hopefully this project can move us towards that ideal world and make the improvements. So I want to thank you a lot for your insight and your comments and just joining us and speaking today.
Thank you so much. And this is something that we can all work together to make happen, and let's see the change.
Thanks, Rob. That's Rob Hampson. I am Paul Vandergren, and this has been Job Talks Access.